There is a quiet voice within each of us that knows the way. Not the loud voice of pressure or expectation, but the gentle ones that speak through intuition, breath, and moments of stillness. Today, we are exploring how reconnecting with spirituality and our inner voice can guide us back to purpose, and how small, simple practices can help us stay there. I'm your host, Archita. Today, I'm joined by Tara Mae Temple, author of Life Hacks for Healing and Harmony, nonfiction writer, and developmental editor. With a background spanning communications, healthcare, fundraising, and sociology, Tara brings both evidence based insight and lived wisdom into the healing conversation. In this episode, we're exploring how spirituality, intuition, and the inner voice helps us find and remain connected to our true purpose, and how small, accessible steps can bring more peace into everyday life. So, welcome, Tara. It's amazing to have you today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Archita. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, me too, me too. So, Tara, before we start talking about practices or purpose, I'm curious. During your own healing journey, when did you first realize that listening inward was essential to finding peace and direction?
Yes, I first realized it basically in 2019, late 2019 and early 2020. I was working at a corporate career and was busy raising a young family, had a young daughter, and lived in the city at the time. And I had, you know, come down with some sort of illness. I won't say exactly what it is, but it really drained me, and I was a busy working mom, working a 9 to 5 job, and I just realized that, health comes first. And this really affected the way I, showed up in my day to day life. It was draining me. And, you know how it is in modern life when you're busy working a 9 to 5 full time career. Sometimes your health gets put on the back burner. And everything was coming up against me. I was having a lot of things pop up, challenges, hardships come up in the workplace, while I was trying to, perform at a high level in my corporate career. Um, and I came to realize that, every time I would try to resolve something, um, I felt like the universe and God was telling me, this is not your path to go down. You are destined for something else. So, what I really tuned into there was, w- instead of acting like I had a victim mentality, like, why is this happening to me? Why is everything going wrong, and carrying a negative mindset? I instead tuned into my intuition and my inner voice, telling me that, there's something else that you are destined for and you need to go explore that. Um, and sometimes that shows up in just a quiet, like, inner voice, and having like breadcrumbs show up that show you that another path is for you. And for me, that was, you know, tuning into what it is, um, what my purpose was, and what I'm meant to do in this world. And for me, that was expressing my voice through writing, through storytelling. um, Writing has always been my passion, and I think it could be a cathartic outlet for people to be able to express their emotions, and helping them on their healing journey. So I always knew deep inside that was something that I wanted to do. Um, it, it took a couple months to kind of get things together, but I knew I needed to change my environment in order to go down a healing journey and begin my journey of self-discovery. So I'll stop there and like I can expand on it a bit more. But the key is if something's not working out in your life, the I would advise you to, really listen to your intuition, and I could teach you how to tap into that and look out for signs for what your destined calling is in this life. Um, and don't be afraid to pursue it because you only get this one life, and you want to be living, you know, aligned with your passions, your dreams, and your goals, and what you're meant to do in this life.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and it's very fascinating how, almost all the time my guests share it with me that once they listened to their inner voice, their entire world changed. So it's
Yes.
yeah, it's lovely how something so small that sounds so small can change your whole entire world. So and that moment of turning inward, especially after long periods of struggle like yours that you just shared, it often
Mhm.
feels like coming home to yourself for the first time. And that is a beautiful feeling.
Right. Yes, and you said that so beautifully, Archita, because it does, when you're out of alignment with your calling and purpose in this world, you won't feel comfortable in your own skin. So the way you said that, when once you find that calling and your purpose and shift directions and shift your way of being, you really do feel like you're at home in your own body. In that, you can feel that energetically, like what you love doing. If you're doing what you love, it will light you up energetically, and it won't feel like work because you're passionate about it and you're aligned with what you're meant to do.
Absolutely. You couldn't have put it in a better way. So, Thea, moving on, many people think that spirituality or intuition is something abstract or reserved for a selected few. Now, from your experience, what do we misunderstand about connecting with our inner voice?
Yes, that is a great question. What we misunderstand, I believe, is we confuse our ego with our true selves. And the ego can be very much connected to what I call the monkey mind. In the monkey mind is that, incessant chatter you have in your mind, that comes up with um, a bunch of those negative thought patterns. And that's attached to your ego. And sometimes you can confuse that ego with your true spiritual essence of, the true you, the soul that you were born with. Um, and the way to really tap into that is, ego will seek things like material things, status, wealth. Um, they will base their worth on external external factors. Whereas when you're tapping into spirituality and you're listening to that inner voice, it's something where you're, listening to your soul's purpose and what your soul longs for. And for me, I'll give you an example. When I'm listening to my inner voice, it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of yearning to help humankind find inner peace. Um, and in being of service to others in that way, um, I know that I'm not feeding my ego because I'm nourishing my soul by, trying to find ways of helping others live a more peaceful life. And it's nothing, I'm not putting my messages and my books and my writings out there to gain a profit or to, you know, acquire material things. it's more on a level of helping people achieve higher consciousness and letting them realize that, they're here on earth to realize their full potential and to know that their dreams and their goals can come to fruition as long as they tap into that spiritual, divine side of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that most of these misconceptions they arise from a place of not being able to separate, like you mentioned, the monkey mind and the conscious mind, or the noise and the clarity. And I think that is where most of these misconceptions arise from, because what really stands out is how intuitive wisdom is often simple and practical. It's just been drowned out by noise and urgency. So it's very important that people learn how to, uh, differentiate between the two. So yeah,
Yes. And I love that you said that because, like that noise that you speak about, those are the distractions. And, the negative thinking and all that, like that could be all, coming up in our minds because of this noise and the distraction. So spending time in silence and in nature and, trying out a meditation practice more regularly that can help to quiet your mind will definitely help with shutting out that noise and helping you connect with that intuition and that inner voice.
exactly, exactly. And let's stay with that. When people feel disconnected from their purpose because of all the noise that you just mentioned, what deeper patterns do you often see in them, emotionally, socially, or spiritually?
Yes, the patterns I see and I've experienced myself when not following my purpose is, you have um energy frequencies. People can, end up being more anxious, more fearful. Um, you know, they could be very like down in depression and have very low moods. And just feel like the energy and batteries are being drained from the mind, body, and soul. Um, and sometimes when you don't tune in your purpose, so a lot of time people may feel despair or helplessness, and maybe not have as much excitement or joy about life. They more dread it and are more fearful of what surrounds them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that explains so much. I mean, that's the reason why we see, so many people in today's time, especially in the corporate world, being uh, drained, and they look like the life has been, sucked out of them. And
Yes.
yeah, I think mostly it is because of that, because they are disconnected from the purpose. They are just following the crowd, and they have not escaped the matrix yet. And what you shared, that insight, it feels so grounding, because people need to realize that disconnection isn't a personal failure. It's often the result of long periods of survival without space to listen. So
Yes. And that's exactly it, Archita. You said that so well because um if people, and you mentioned the matrix, like we live in an idealized society where people think that their identity is wound up with their what job they carry or what career they're pursuing. And we can't let those roles define us. You are you, you're unique, and everyone deserves peace and to be joyful in their lives and to connect with their purpose. And it's just a matter of going down a self discovery journey, and learning from others, especially your podcast and what messaging you and your guests have as well, Archita. Um, it's just learning from life lessons and, trying new things to figure out exactly what your purpose is. Um, and we're here to create and to connect with one another. So the more you do some soul searching of what you really want in this life, that is very meaningful in and of itself. You won't regret it.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel that whatever you are doing, I think it's absolutely great because when we look at it from far away, we feel like that is not something very big. But when we really look into things, and when the listeners will listen to this podcast, they will realize that that is such a big thing, because tapping into your intuition, into your true purpose, that is such an important thing in today's world, when everyone's just trying to wear other people's skins, when they are just kind of putting a facade. So it's very important what you're doing, and I just want to thank you for that, truly.
Oh, thank you so much. And the more I could get the word out there, like you put it so eloquently, like people are, like comparing themselves and trying to be somebody that they're not. And I'm of the belief that you need to continue being the authentic you that you were born with. People forget who they are and they need to come back to remembering, you know, um, what they're here on earth for, and know that you're loved. And it is a difficult society and world that we live in nowadays, but um, I promise you, if you go down a healing journey and find ways you could be more, you can find more fulfillment in your life by starting with working on your inner peace. You'll find more joy and realize that it's just the small things that can make you happy and content in your life. When you look within, blessings begin trickling in.
Absolutely. I love how beautifully you just put that. And on that note, like I said, you often emphasize small, grounded practices. So, for someone listening who feels overwhelmed, what are a few gentle ways, like nature, breathing, or kindness, to reconnect with inner peace and purpose?
Yes, there's quite a few different ones that I do, but a few simple ones you can start with. Um, there's a breathing practice that I do when I feel overwhelmed or stressed out. It's called the 478 breathing technique. What you do is you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 7 seconds, and then breathe out for 8 seconds. Try that on a loop at least 5 to 10 times, and you'll notice a little bit more. Um, calm breathing. Your breathing is not as shallow, and you'll feel your nervous system and your mind and body and spirit just, find a little bit more peace. So I encourage that. That is definitely helpful. And another really important element to finding peace, which is just a small step that you can start to experiment with and integrate in your daily life, is connecting with nature. And that could just be a walk outside by trees, by water, by a little creek. And, just spending 20 minutes a day, at least 3 times a week in nature. And you'll start to um, notice a little bit of weight coming off your shoulders, and it helps to really clear your mind and ground you again. So that's definitely another thing. And then number one for me is, if you're spiritual or not, what I recommend is, if are spiritual, is engage in daily prayer by making contact with God or the divine. Um, ask what you need help with, offer your worries and problems to God in the universe and whatever God you believe in, and start your day off with prayer, and it will give you the fuel you need to, you know, power through the day. and it really changes your perspective and how you interact with others as well. I know that I before I go out and do anything, the first thing I do is start with prayer for at least 20 to 30 minutes, but it doesn't have to be that long. You could start small, start at 5 minutes a day, and then gradually work your way up um, as you go along. But that really sets the tone for your day, and you'll notice that, you'll be more productive, you'll be more compassionate and caring in your interactions with others, and more understanding of others. And you'll be gentle with yourself as well. You won't be too hard on yourself. So those are the main ingredients I use. And also, if you're having a hard time and you're dealing with some anxiety or depression, or you know you're a little lost right now, um, it's just simple matter of, could you offer an act of kindness for a stranger, or a loved one, or just somebody that you know. And what that does is it really shifts your mind and your energy to helping somebody else. And that takes your mind off of whatever struggles or suffering that you're dealing with. And that really puts some good energy out into the universe and to other people. And that really sows a seed for um, you getting kindness back in return.
Wow, that is very helpful, and thank you so much for sharing that. I also loved, how accessible all of that is, whatever I've mentioned, and it does not require something very big, because that's what it is. I mean, peace doesn't require transformation overnight. It just requires moments of presence within into the day, just the small things that matters, and eventually lead on to bigger changes in your life. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of that, Tara. It has
Of
been
course.
amazing conversation today, and I for sure am going to use all of the advice that you have given today. I'm sure our listeners feel the same way after listening to this. And for our listeners, I'll offer this reflection today: what small act today could help you feel just a little more connected to yourself and what truly matters? Ask yourself this. Purpose isn't something we chase, it's something we remember when we listen inward and live with gentle intention. So, Tara, for listeners who want to explore your writing or learn more about life hacks for healing and harmony, where can they find you?
Yeah, of course. So they can visit my website at www.terrasweetawakening.com. And on there, it gives a bit of a background on my biography and what my mission is to help people achieve inner peace. And most importantly, with my book launch my book is called Life Hacks for Healing and Harmony. The official launch date is January 15th. So it is available on Amazon. Um, and you can read there. Basically, all the chapters have, personal stories that I went through, but most importantly, it's a self help book to help you find strategies that are simple, that are pretty much life hacks to help you find harmony in your life. And I promise you, it's there to help guide you through all the different things that you go through, whether that be grief, anxiety, self-image struggles, dealing with your dark side, being more compassionate to yourself and others, as well as finding your purpose, and travel adventures and just finding joy in your life. So it contains some journaling pages and some writing exercises that can help you through your healing and self discovery. You can also reach out to me at Tara Mae Temple on Instagram, and on Facebook. My name is Tara Mae Temple. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you want to get in contact with me. Otherwise, yeah, those are ways you can reach me.
Amazing. So I have all the details on my show listing, and our listeners can feel free to connect with you whenever and however they want. Tara, once again, thank you for sharing such grounded wisdom and reminding us that healing can be both practical and soulful. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. If today's conversation resonated, take a moment to breathe deeply, step outside if you can, or offer a small act of kindness to yourself or someone else. Sometimes inner peace begins with the smallest steps. Until next time, take gentle care and keep listening inward.